Hello, today is Saturday, August 31st, and this is the TMS vlog video for the last uh, 4 days that I have not been able to post for my transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy. So this is for TMS days 26 through 29. And let me just make sure I have those days right. So I posted on the 26th for days 24 and 25. 6, 7, 28, 29. Yeah. So for TMS days 26 through 29, so week 4 of TMS therapy, um, I have, oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. My mood has kind of been all over the place, and it is so hard to objectively measure. And if there's one thing that trying to do daily or weekly video vlogs about daily or weekly vlogs and tracking my mental health and trying to find out if this treatment is actually working, if there's one thing that it's taught me is how many variables come into play when it comes to your mood. Um, and how many changes I just go through, like on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, that really affect my mood. Like I started my TMS therapy because I work in the schools. So I started my TMS therapy like my last week of summer break. So I mean it was pretty chill for the most part, right? I wasn't dealing with the fast-paced environment of being a school speech therapist, which, if you know anything about that, it is hectic, it is chaotic, it's full of meetings, sessions with multiple kids at a time, taking data, reaching out to parents, dealing with administrators, collaborating with like the school psychologists and teachers. It's just a lot for someone who is introverted and um, feels that like they are socially challenged, I guess is the way to put it. It's a lot of moving pieces. And for someone who also has, I have cerebral palsy, but I also have, my other diagnoses are ADHD, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. And the ADHD piece is so debilitating because my executive function is crap. And so it's very difficult for me to organize my tasks by like order of like importance, and even when I like write things down, like if I make a note of things, I never even look at it, or I tend to forget about it. And there are so many things going on when you're working as a school speech therapist that you have to juggle and remember. And I think that executive function piece that I really struggle with the ADHD makes it a living hell. So coming on here and updating daily and weekly has helped me come to that realization of how hectic and how difficult it is to have to juggle all these things at work. And I think that's what's leading to burnout. And I think that's why I'm exhausted by the end of the week. Um, and why I have really no energy to do anything. But anyway, so all that to say that it's been a pretty chaotic past week. Trying to get organized for sessions. I mentioned that I started working at a school that's nearby. For the past almost 2 years, I have been working for two charter schools, and one of them is about 45 minutes away from my house, and the other one is like 10 minutes away. So last year, I was up at the other school for 3 days a week, and down at this school that's close to my house for 2 days a week. Um, but I actually felt more comfortable at the school that's further away from my house because I had my own speech room, and the other speech language pathologist, the lead speech therapist, who is also technically my supervisor, he was there, but he doesn't micromanage me. So he had his own office and his own speech room. And when I had sessions to do, I would have the speech room to myself, and he would be in his office, or he would be in another room having sessions with doing speech therapy sessions with another group. And occasionally he would come into the speech room because that's where some of the materials are. Um, but he like never really, I never felt like he was breathing down my neck or like, um, you know, really watching my every move. But he was there. He's there if I need the support. So he's like right next door. He was right next door to me last year. So if I was having trouble like helping a student, like eliciting a sound or showing them the correct placement for their R sound or their S or whatever it is, I could just go next door, knock on his door and just ask him like, hey, if you're not busy, can you help me? Show me how you would go about eliciting this sound because I'm really struggling with the student. And he's always open to doing that. And to me, because I'm so self-conscious and so anxious all the time, that is my optimal supervision style, like my optimal way of learning. Kind of like, let me do my thing without like watching me the entire time. That way, if I fail or if I feel like I'm making mistakes, like I will notice it and I'll make a note of it, but I won't feel as bad or anxious about it because I know that you're in the room watching me. And whereas the supervisor over here, closer to my house, she's very sweet. She's very patient. She's a great speech therapist, but I don't have my own space, so I don't have my own room. So every day that I'm there, 4 days a week, it's myself and it's her, right? The speech therapist, the supervisor, and it's the speech therapist assistant who also helps us out in session. So every single day that I'm there, it's the three of us in the same room. And while maybe they have a million things going on and they're too busy to really care what I'm doing, I feel like when sometimes we're all having sessions at the same time and that's chaos. Like I don't feel like that's an optimal learning environment or therapeutic environment for kids at all. Like I wish that we had an extra space, but unfortunately we don't. And this is the reality in the schools a lot of the time. Some speech therapists have to work in like janitor's closets because there's no space, which is ridiculous. Sometimes we all have sessions going on, but sometimes it's just me who has a session going on, whereas and then the speech assistant will be like on her computer doing paperwork, and then also my supervisor, the other speech therapist, will be either sitting at her desk or at her computer, but again, she'll be in the same room, and it'll be super quiet except for the session that's going on in the room, which a lot of times it's me having the session by myself. And while I prefer that because I feel like it's an optimal therapeutic environment for the kids when there's only just one session going on, it also definitely amps up my anxiety to feel like they're listening to like my session, like they're watching my every move, um, to feel like an abject failure a lot of the time because I can't manage behavior in a group setting. I'm still trying to learn to balance managing behavior for three kids while taking data while still getting enough like speech trials in. Um, and a lot of times I feel like I fail. A lot of time I feel like I don't really get any therapy done. And that just adds to my anxiety. And I cannot live like that. I can't. I know I only have one more school year left there, but not having my own space and my privacy as an introvert and someone who has high levels of anxiety, it is extremely um, tiring and draining. And I wish that it didn't have to be that way. So yeah, that's another thing I've noticed. As far as TMS goes, I mentioned in my last video that the treating psychiatrist decided to increase the right side, which is the anxiety, to 125 and keep the left side, which they're tapping for depression, at 120. And again, they're tapping on both sides. I'm getting bilateral stimulation to treat both the depression and the anxiety. Yesterday, I didn't get much sleep the night before yesterday because as you know, I just recently started a new semester up again. I'm also in graduate school for speech and language pathology, and so with that comes a lot of like homework projects, extra stuff that we have to do outside of class. my program is entirely online. So what I typically do is I go to work, then I go to my TMS session, and then I come straight here to sign my uh, into my classes. So the day before yesterday, I had homework to do, and I went to sleep like around 11:30, which in hindsight doesn't sound like it's super late, but I've really gotten into the habit of going to sleep like 9:30 to 10. And because I felt like I didn't get any sleep the day before yesterday, consequently, I think that yesterday I was a lot more stressed out, a lot more anxious and irritable. My sessions weren't going well. I was struggling to redirect a lot of the children. I was feeling like my supervisor was constantly watching me. I um, I also think that time of the month is approaching, so I'm likely going to start my period today or tomorrow or sometime this weekend, which definitely messes with my mood. So it's important to kind of notice these things as well. So yesterday when I felt that my mood was like I was more anxious than usual and more stressed out and more on edge and more depressed because I was feeling more sad overall. I kind of asked myself like, okay, did you take your medication? Because I'm taking, the only medication I'm taking is the stimulant medication for ADHD, which is the 26.1 milligrams of azstarys. But I'm not currently taking anything for depression or anxiety. And I kind of checked the box. Like, yes, I took my medication. What else could be going on? You know, I realized I didn't get as much sleep last night. That could play a factor. I'm realizing that the time of the month is approaching. That could also play a part. And so again, it is so hard to objectively measure whether or not the treatment is working because there are so many moving pieces. And I wish that I could just go like an entire month or month and a half with just my mood being exactly the same and not having to deal with like any curveballs being thrown at me about like parents giving me a hard time or sessions not going well or missing deadlines or not getting any sleep, so that I could just see, okay, this is my baseline. Is the TMS treatment working for me? But because there are so many moving pieces, it's so hard to tell. I feel like sometimes my mood is okay, other times it's crap. Um, But yeah, the treatment itself, even though they're at a higher intensity, it is louder, but it's not painful. Just a little bit uncomfortable. Feels like a woodpecker is constantly pecking at your skull. Um, and this is a 3-day weekend. So obviously we don't do treatments on weekend, and I also don't have a session on Monday because they're closed because of Labor Day or Memorial Day. No, Labor Day. And so I won't be having sessions again until Tuesday. So we will see how that goes, and I will return to give you guys an update.